New card. What do you think?
Get over here!
Hadouken!
That man is playing Galaga.
I understood that reference.
You shall not pass! So say we all.
So say we all. Ride with me.
It's adamantium tasting time, boys.
Well, make it so, number one.
All wings report in.
And welcome to your weekly interval. This is the Best Damn Nerd Show. I'm your host, Microphone Alchemist Bimbo Jimbo. With me tonight, Imperial Commissar Jeff Budd.
I was going to drop a quote from a slasher movie, but I forgot it.
You don't know what death is. And Chief Science Officer of Star Labs, Mark Truex. Did I steal yours, Mark?
I shot him 6 times. Shot him 6 times.
So far, we are two for 3 quoting Halloween 2 to start this episode. Happy October, everyone, and Nerdosphere. Just a little bit of housekeeping for the Best Damn Nerd Show as we have flipped our calendars into October. We are going to be getting spooky all month long, doing Halloween-centric and horror-centric episodes of the Best Damn Nerd Show.
Horror-centric.
Horror. I've made that mistake
I'm still
before.
excited.
Yes, but we
would
will
have
be
worked
doing...
either way.
Yeah, we're good with it. Either which way we're going to slice it, but that is what we were doing here for the month of October. And I know Halloween is a favorite of Jeff's, of Mark's, and myself every year. I know this year it's a little bit different with everything going on with the pandemic. True horror show abounding in the world out there, but we wanted to continue to get in the spirit of things. And so tonight we are starting things off. We're going to be talking about slasher films and all the good stuff that comes along with that. But before we get into our favorite slashers and everything like that, let's start with just Halloween in the broad sense. What do you love about, the whole spooky season and Halloween and horror films and just how you got into that growing up? Marco, we'll start with you.
Absolutely adore Halloween, and favorite tradition every single year is the Horror-thon. And that is nothing but horror movies for the entire month of October. And we grew up doing this. I was doing this with James since, I don't know, middle school. Probably is when we started doing it, and really obsessed with the Halloween movies in particular. Scream was in there, sleepaway camps, Jack Frost introductions, and went through a whole gambit of different films, and to this day still do it every single October. My wife and I have a list of must watches, and then allow ourselves to explore a lot of other just randoms, and we have some good picks already designed for this year. Already slated. We're going to watch the remakes of It. We're going to watch Us. That new Freaky that's going to come out looks delightfully fun. So very excited about it. We try to not watch many horror movies throughout the normal year, saving it just for Halloween time. It's just good time. I mean, it's the same kind of like childhood fun as like Christmas season, but just on a little darker twist to it. How can you not like it? How can you not?
I always appreciate the enduring legacy of the Kincaid Horror-thons.
Wow. The Kincaid Horror-thon.
He put his name on it, yeah.
Well, I mean, I
thought it was
invited
a bunch of mutually respected friends enjoying a good watch.
I was trying to say thank you, Mark, and you ruined it. But
I don't know, James. The
Kane
audacity of that statement.
Well, I do appreciate that legacy is enduring and is carried on into your household, Mark. Jeff, how about you? What is it about Halloween and horror and stuff like that you like?
Yeah, Halloween and Christmas have always been my 2 favorite holidays because I think they have the most personality. And Halloween is sort of like the introduction to like best time of the year in terms of just all the different holidays. And I like the changing of the seasons, and I like when the nights get longer and colder. In terms of Halloween and what I loved about it growing up, I really liked dressing up for Halloween. I liked trick-or-treating. Didn't like the candy. I just liked the act of trick-or-treating. And then what was great about Halloween is once I got older and didn't go trick-or-treating anymore, I learned like a whole other side of it where I would stay home and hand out the candy and watch scary movies. And now that's what I really appreciate. I love getting scared. I like the sensation of it. It's fun. I always enjoyed haunted houses. I love haunted hayrides. Mark and I have gone to a haunted house together before.
Yeah.
I've gone, John's not here, but John and I have gone to a haunted hayride and a haunted maze together in LA. The one by the zoo, which was a lot of fun. And so like, I like that sensation. I like interacting with things. I've never did horror marathons with people on a regular basis before, maybe like a friend here or there, or a girlfriend or now a wife and everything. But that sounds like a lot of fun. I would have liked to have been a part of that. That's cool.
I would have loved for you to have been a part of it as well. It definitely is something that I always look back on very fondly this time of year. Former executive producer of the Best Damn Nerd Show, Adam Zika, was an integral part of those horror-thons eventually too, as he and I would go to these sort of like hole-in-the-wall VHS stores to try and find sort of like the most random ass, F-list horror films that we had never heard of before. Like, that's how we found Jack Frost. That's how we found movies like Killjoy and, all these other ones that eventually were incorporated, and some of them became, cult classics among us. But I have to give credit to my mom for sort of my love of the all things spooky and Halloween. She definitely imparted that onto me. The Disney's Legend of Sleepy Hollow cartoon was a fixture growing up for me, especially around Halloween time. The Headless Horseman for the longest time was one of my favorite, like
The Adventures of Ichabod Crane.
Yes.
Just rewatched it this week with Marcella.
Narrated by Bing Crosby. I mean, Brom Bones is most certainly the prototype for what would become Gaston in Beauty and the Beast. But the Headless Horseman in that, the iconic laugh and everything, that was a big part of it. But yeah, my mom she loved getting scared too and putting on scary movies. And so that was sort of a thing that she and I continue to share. And that's what sort of led to the genesis of the horror-thons, because Mark, I'm sure you remember, they were always at my mom's house. They were never at my dad's. My dad hates Halloween.
It was
my
always
dad
like
probably
3 or 4 of us crammed on the floor staring into like an 18-inch TV or something like that, watching VHS, which was great. Nothing but the glow of that and Coke cans.
Yeah, Coke cans, everybody. But yeah, my dad hates Halloween. His Christmas decorations are probably already up at this point in time. So that was definitely something that was between my mom and I. But let's get into the specific topic for tonight in regards to Halloween and horror, and that is slasher films. And I wanted to start off with this because, as Mark alluded to, with those movie marathons growing up, I think for me, one of the biggest influences on getting into the genre and getting into Halloween was the film franchise Halloween. So I wanted to, and that's, maybe the most iconic slasher film ever. We can certainly discuss that. But what is your overall just opinions on the subgenre in general? Do you gravitate towards them, or is it more take it or leave it? Jeff, we can kick it off with you here.
I've definitely grown to appreciate it more over the years. They never really were my cup of tea when I was younger, and it's like certain ones I definitely like. Certain franchises, Halloween is probably my favorite. I like Nightmare on Elm Street. I like Friday the 13th. I hate the Texas Chainsaw Massacre films, which, I mean, they're almost only loosely slasher anyway. Maybe some of the sequels are more slasher than the original. The original is more just white trash, scary rural area or something like that. It's almost like Deliverance in a sense.
Yeah,
and it's that and the Hills Have Eyes. Yeah, it's I hate The Hills Have Eyes. The
it's
original,
too uncomfortable.
It's also just underwhelming. Except for when the guy goes in the trailer and it's I'm gonna kill you, bitch. Or something. It's not scary. It's you have to laugh at that. And and I heard the remake was kind of shit too. I think I saw it and it was I remember there's no lasting impression of it. So yeah, with slasher films, I kind of like some of the mainstays. I don't know if I like any of the low budget stuff. It's not the kind of thing that I seek out, but I do enjoy the ones that I like.
Yeah, I think that there are some pretty high highs when it comes to the slashers, and then there's some really
easy to make,
lows.
And it's often imitated. So I think that's the problem, is there's so much saturation in the market because the the famous ones are really successful. And so
Well, and
everybody's really
Halloween-
gone for it. Yeah. I mean, how
Halloween
many
changed the game.
Yeah, that changed the game. And the fact that the original Halloween is so low budget, you know, it's
Yes.
like really anybody can imitate that. And then you have the higher budget ones, and then you have so many. I mean, if Jason is a ripoff of Mike Myers, like how many, it's like multiplicity. How many clones do we have off of just Jason alone? It's like we're losing a lot in translation.
Yeah,
here.
exactly. There's some diminishing returns there.
We're getting a lot of the fourth Michael Keaton slasher films.
Yeah, and you know, the sort of like when My Big Fat Greek Wedding came out, you know, which films
Horrible
records,
slasher movie.
No, but which
adorable
films,
rom-com.
Yes, horrible movie. But the records that movie was breaking were Halloween's. You know, like the like independent film records that they were referencing and stuff like that was that's how successful Halloween was and where it stood for the longest time. But Mark, what about you? What was sort of your intro into slasher films and how you feel about the subgenre?
Slasher films, I'm trying to remember if it was actually Halloween or if it was Scream that got me into slasher film, because I love the Scream movies, just as I love the Halloween movies. All of them, all the Scream movies, absolutely. 4, absolutely delightful. I can't wait for 5. And Halloween, same thing. The grand majority of them are all super cool. Busta Rhymes, delightful. So,
no, he was not.
all of them.
Stop in
The Rob Zombie ones?
No.
No, Busta Rhymes, H2O.
No, that wasn't
That's not
H2O. That was
Resurrection.
Resurrection.
Yeah, whatever.
Wow.
But I really
That's
enjoy
the
slasher
Kincaid horror-thons.
genre. I really enjoy the slasher genre. I like the killer with the knife and the thriller aspect of it. As it starts getting a little too hillbilly rapey, I kind of get put off.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just like good old fashioned psycho with a knife sort of idea there. I'm not terribly into torture kind of things.
Oh, Mark, you're preaching to the choir.
Yeah, the torture horror movie isn't my thing. It's the slasher film, or it's like supernatural monster stuff like The Fly or The Thing, or like Reanimator, like kind of things of that nature. Some ghosty things more on the poltergeisty side, where again, it's almost that supernatural monstery, not just a ghost.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, and to sort of go down that track about the sort of hillbilly type stuff, like House of a Thousand Corpses and those type movies.
Rob Zombie stinks.
I could not dislike those movies anymore. They are horrible. They're not fun to watch. I remember I was stuck at a friend's birthday party, but he was at that point in time he was more like a friend of a friend, and I was just like stuck there having the worst time being forced to watch. I forget if it was House of a Thousand Corpses or whatever the other one was that was
Devil's
out at the
Rejects.
time. Devil's Rejects.
Devil's Rejects, I think, is even worse. House of a Thousand Corpses, I thought at least had a couple of redeeming parts, but I was like, I don't really want to go through this. Never seen them?
I've stood by. I'm just like, it doesn't seem like it's gonna be my cup of tea.
They're
Same
not
like
good.
Hills Have Eyes. I saw the remake Hills Have Eyes, and it was too much.
Yeah,
the baby and the gun and the blowy, like all that. I was like, oh, how terrible.
Dude, yeah, it's just I don't really care for the setting. I don't care for the cartoonishness of it. I mean, it's part of the reason why I hate Resident Evil 7 also. It's very Texas Chainsaw Massacre-y in terms of its setting and just visuals and stuff. But yeah, Rob Zombie's greatest crime, I feel, is he creates boring films.
Yeah, that is
his Halloween take is horrendous as well. He's got bad pacing in his movies.
It is, in my opinion, hard to make a boring movie, and he's
done it like 4 times.
Yes, he's mastered the art, if you want to call it that, because those movies are atrociously boring. So I had to go down that rabbit hole a little bit just to properly put those movies where they belong, which is the ash heap of history. But in terms of your all-time favorite slasher movies, Mark, what is, you mentioned Scream a little bit, so let's talk about that. What is it about Scream that you love so much?
I think it absolutely nails on the head the perfect combination of like fun comedy, terrifying horror thriller, and they're all beautiful to look at. It has all the right soundtrack in there. I mean, I'm a huge heavy head of the 90s and things like that. Their whole aesthetic. Oh my god, Nev Campbell's my girl, dude.
Nev Campbell when she was Nev Campbell,
yeah,
man.
dude. And
yeah.
so
yeah, dude.
Scream put her on the map for me. It wasn't Seventh Heaven or nothing like that, but
she wasn't on Seventh Heaven. She was on Party of Five.
Whatever it was. See, exactly.
You think of Jessica Biel.
Jessica Biel. Yeah. And then what? Jennifer Love Hewitt was on Party of Five too.
Also, yeah.
Something
and
like
I know
this is you saying Jason Priestley died all over again, Mark.
Oh, sad. But
there's Luke Perry.
Nevi Cams, dude.
He's still upset about the Jason Priestley death.
But Nevi Cams,
he loves those race cars.
Absolutely nailed it. And just the entire cast in there. I mean, breakouts really for like Matt Lillard and Jamie Kennedy and Skeet Ulrich. Like, yeah.
Dude, how about David Arquette?
Drew Barrymore's like intro,
David
just
Arquette
that
and
scene,
Courtney
that's the
Cox
intro
met.
to it was great. Yeah, Courtney Cox was fantastic. David Arquette, that's where they've met and fell in love. There's so much, like, I watch it and my heart just wells with like enjoyment of the actual characters and still like the thrilling pace of the movie and how it's all put together.
And I know that both of you can talk about Halloween, and we will momentarily. But I have to echo Mark here a lot on the Scream track because, you know, when we were of the sort of coming up in middle school and everything like that, those were a phenomenon at the box office, in conversation. I remember vividly being in class in middle school and a girl running away because she didn't want to hear spoilers about who the killer was in Scream 2.
That's awesome.
And it was it's etched into my brain. And also just the fact that like they're less scary now as adults, but when we were at that age, they're pretty like good on the terror scale because of sort of how vicious Ghostface is at various times in the movie and the kills and everything like that. And you're right. I think one of Scream's best sort of assets is its supporting cast, is the fact that it has a great protagonist in Sidney Prescott. I mean, Cotton Weary.
Liev Schreiber?
Liev Schreiber is great in those. And, that's where I became familiar with David Arquette, really. I think that there's a lot of characters that you sort of root for in that. Certainly Jamie Kennedy playing Randy is somebody that I greatly identified with. And we'll probably get more into that later on. But it was, those Scream movies, I think, obviously I think the first one is the best, but I think the sequels are all pretty much worthy to the task. I like Mark. I did enjoy Scream 4. I enjoyed Scream 3.
4 super good. Scream 3 was really good. I mean, it's probably the weakest of them all, and I feel like we can waste a lot of time just talking Scream. But Scream 3 was definitely the weakest of them all, but had some great things in there, just with like the homages to the first film, like they're making the film of the first film.
Yeah, the movie was called Stab. She was stabbed.
Yeah, the characterizations of them all. Jay and Silent Bob show up. Carrie Fisher's in the mix.
Patrick Dempsey plays me in the movie. Are we not going to talk about that? Detective Kincaid, spelled correctly. That's canon, folks. It's awesome. So yeah, Scream 3 had some things going for it.
It's not who I would have cast for you, but
well, too bad, too late. McDreamy is me, everybody. So, and not only that, he played somebody named Jimbo in one of those Outbreak movies. The name escapes me at the moment, but the one with Dustin Hoffman or whatever it was, I think.
Outbreak.
Outbreak. Yeah, whatever. I watched it at the start of this whole pandemic.
Outbreak movies.
That's a topic for another episode. But Jeff, what about you? What is your all-time favorite slasher franchise?
Well, I won't jump on Scream's dick as much as you guys already have, but I will say one of the great things about it is it definitely is kind of like pulling back the curtain and, not a spoof entirely, but I mean, it is taking a different approach to slasher films, but they are legit slasher films in their own right. Like you were saying, the viciousness of the killer, the graphic nature of some of the deaths, Also, shout out to Jerry O'Connell in part 2. Come on, guys.
Absolutely.
Our boy
Absolutely.
Jerry
Give his
needs some
letters
love.
away.
Sliders and Tomcats, Jerry O'Connell.
Never give your letters away.
But since we haven't talked about it yet, I'll say Child's Play. I am a huge fan of not fucking with the Chuck. I love Chucky. Charles Lee Ray, the Strangler, or the what was it? Not the Bayside Strangler. Is some sort of strangler. Or
Outbreak.
Whatever, oh, you're right. It was the Outbreak Strangler. He's one of them. He choked people. What do you do?
He's
He
one
was
of
a
those
strangler.
slasher movies.
Yeah. But I love the original trilogy, especially the first two, because they're like they're perfect box set together. But it's the kind of story that just hasn't died. I mean, there's such a love with that fan base that they've been able to make like so many extra movies, and they're still good. They're still fun. And then of course there's that lovable remake with Mark Hamill.
Yeah, so speak on that a little bit for those that maybe have not heard, the original run. You talk about it a little bit. It gave birth to one of my favorite bits of all time, which is if each of us had our own little My Buddy doll. But what did you think about the remake? Because, as somebody that loves and worships Halloween as a horror franchise, I hate the Rob Zombie films, and I did not like the latest approach that they took last year or 2 years ago, whenever it was. But how did you feel about them approaching Child's Play again?
I was excited, and Mark knows that. We were both pretty stoked at WonderCon when they had like the sneak peek trailer, and I think the big announcement was that Mark Hamill was doing the voice.
Yep.
That
we heard it first.
We did hear it first. Yeah. They did something different with it, which I have to applaud. I mean, I don't need them to just retell the original story. It is not anywhere near as good as the other Chucky movies. I think part of the problem is because Chucky doesn't have like an actual personality. He's not a killer. It's like technology gone wrong. And there's a lot of things that just don't exactly work with the film. I still appreciated it, and it was kind of a cool approach, but I mean, you can't deny just the charisma that Chucky has. I mean, he's like second only to Freddy Krueger when it comes to these guys in terms of just that type of personality that people just love. Because I mean, Mike Myers obviously is the quintessential silent killer, and then there's plenty of imitators when it comes to that, like Jason and stuff. And you really just pick your mask as far as who's your favorite. And then Freddy is, I mean, he's the king of the one-liners, but then Chucky's like right
Welcome
there
to
with
prime time, bitch.
Yeah, exactly. But like Chucky's got that stuff too, like don't fuck with the Chuck, and then he killed that guy. And I loved it when he was yelling at Andy Barkley in one episode, or not one episode, like it was the second movie. He had to kill this guy that Andy was with, and Andy was just kind of standing there frozen. He's like, "You act like you never saw a dead body before. Come on, let's go." And he grabs him and is dragging him out of the room because he had already killed and warped this kid's mind. He had killed so many people in front of him.
One of my favorite Chucky lines was from, I think it was Bride of Chucky, where he's finally like nesting down with the bride, and she's like, Chucky, do you have a condom? Baby, I'm all rubber.
See, and that was one of those things where it's like Tiffany comes into it late. It's like that's already the fourth film, and it's years after they had really made those movies. But I like her, and like she's a really cool character. And I can't think of the actress's name.
The girl from Liar Liar. Jennifer Tilly?
Yeah, Jennifer Tilly. She's so great, and she's so funny and stuff in interviews and everything, and she's fully embraced it, and
yes, she has.
She's always available for all of that stuff, and I think they're just a lot of fun. They're fun movies, and I used to be terrified of Chucky when I was a child, and like once you actually get to sit down and watch the movies, it's like, wow, these are fun. And the first couple though are scary. Like those are good movies.
But you made an interesting point, because Chucky in his own way is almost like an Elvira-esque character now in terms of just his like level of charisma, and the fact that you could put Chucky the character hosting like these
he's cut promos on Monday Night Nitro.
Yeah, exactly. But that type of stuff is sort of it is unique to him. So he definitely has a very special place in the slasher pantheon.
Well, I mean, there was that Nightmare on Elm Street TV show or whatever, and Freddy Krueger was basically doing an Elvira thing. The stories had nothing to do with the movies, but or Freddy's Nightmares, that's what it was called. And Freddy would, kind of talk to the audience before the story and then talk at the end. So, I mean, like I said, if you're talking personality, it's those two.
Yep.
And then
absolutely,
they all have different like assets and skills, but that's what they do best.
I want to circle back to Halloween. Talked about it a little bit, danced around it since then, but to me, that is the ultimate slasher franchise. I do think that Michael Myers is, like you said, Jeff, the quintessential silent killer, and I think really the standard bearer for the slasher films. And I think, in my opinion, some of that got kind of lost along the way, where we got Freddy versus Jason, and I remember being. I admit that I'm a weird fucking nerd, but I remember being so like pissed off by that because, well, it should be Freddy versus Michael Myers because, like Jason's just a knockoff of Michael Myers. It's like, wasn't even the star of his own first movie.
But Freddy did cameo in a Jason film years before that. Yeah.
And I totally get that, but I always just, it bugged me because I was like, to me, Michael Myers is the guy. He's the heavyweight champion of those masked slasher killers, and everything like that has spawned out of that is because of Michael Myers. And I think one of the things that we talked about Scream and how Sidney Prescott is a great character, and she is sort of like the next evolution of early Laurie Strode and everything like that. Maybe a stronger version of her, certainly from the earlier films. But what Scream does not have an answer for, and what I don't think any slasher film has an answer for, is Dr. Loomis. He to me is sort of like the linchpin of the Halloween franchise in so many ways that sets it apart. It makes the whole world of Halloween richer, if you take Season of the Witch out of it and everything like that. But that franchise to me, like, that's king. That's one of my favorite horror franchises just in general. Take genre or subgenre out of it. I love Michael Myers, and I always think back on like some of the special features. I don't even think it was on DVD, but at the end of like a VHS tape where like Mustafa Akkad was talking about, he's like looking at this like a Michael Myers statue. He's like, I love this guy, because he'd made him so much money over the years by buying into the franchise and everything. But yeah, what is it about Halloween that stands out to you, Marco?
Just as like a real cinephile, just the way it was actually done, the long takes, single cuts, the music and the use of that and drumming up emotion and intensity was just beautifully done. Like just the way they did all like the opening sequences was just the long take into the pumpkin splitting open into the skull. Beautiful. Genius. Like I loved how it was just done and put together. I mean, Donald Pleasance is fantastic. He'll always be my favorite Bond villain too. And
he's great.
And I thought he did wonderful in that. And Jamie Lee Curtis, I mean, she foxing. I mean, she's a scream queen. It's always fun seeing her show up in extra horror properties. And the Scream Queens show was a nice homage to horror films and very in vain of like Scream, but bringing her back for that. Yeah.
Jeff, how about you? What is it about Halloween? Because I've always loved talking Halloween with both of you over the years. It's just nice to have fellow appreciators of Halloween.
I think it's one of those things where like less is more. You don't have to do like the big spectacles. It can be a very simple story, which it is. And I co-sign everything that Mark said about it. I think everything he said was spot on, other than Jamie Lee Curtis being a fox. The fox was the one friend, the sheriff's daughter.
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of her name. The one who gets strangled in the car.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I feel like it has just the right amount of characters. There's like no fat in the movie at all. It's like every scene is leading to the next part, and like you can't really miss any of it. It's all really good. And then it's so weird when you think of it as like an entire franchise and you go back and watch the first movie, as far as, how much Dr. Loomis is even in the original one. And obviously just the lack of interaction between him and Mike Myers. It's bizarre to me. It's like, wow, they really didn't come to head until like the very end. Like he comes in, saves the day briefly. Yeah. And then like, that's it. I mean, they come to blows a lot more in part 2. And then of course, part 4 is one of my favorite scenes when he confronts him at the gas station.
Oh.
But that is epic. That I think is when I really appreciated Dr. Loomis as a kid. I was like,
Michael,
because he knew Michael Myers was in there, and he went anyway. Like, oh god, it just gives me chills. But Yeah, I think just the first movie is so seamless.
Yeah, I agree. And and you say seamless, it seamlessly goes into the second one, which I feel like doesn't get enough love.
That
like,
and Rocky 1 Part 1 and 2. Those are the
exactly.
only movies that do that.
Blows my mind, and they do it so well. Like you talk about, he saves the day momentarily, and then we, roll credits. We're into Halloween 2, and I shot him 6 times. I've been trick or treated to death tonight. You don't know what death is, and it's like it's just so great. And we're off to the races. I think Halloween 2 is a very if we had only gotten Halloween 1 and 2,
would have been cool.
It's great.
Would have been complete.
Well, and
another
that's
fun...
why I've got no problem with H2O, where it's like, what? Maybe
absolutely.
we did just get 1 and 2, and all right, yeah. As much as I do like the 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, I agreed. Go ahead, Mark.
There is another newer movie series that did that, where it picks up right where it let off, of The Descent. I don't know if you guys saw that horror one, where it's a bunch of hot young impressionables going spelunking in a cave, and then they get stuck in there and they encounter a bunch of evolved creatures in the caves. How
Trench.
number 1 ends picks right up. That's where number 2 begins.
That's great.
Okay.
So
that's
good.
3 different series have done that ever.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More should do it.
That was good. That was a good monster movie.
All right, I'll have to add it to the list. But we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we're going to keep getting into slasher films, the rules for surviving a horror film, that and much more on the other side in the Best Damn Nerd Show.
Hey everyone, Chris Seglia here, CEO of the Tenno Media Network. I would like to say thank you for checking out one of our podcasts, but we need your help. You can support Tenno in a multitude of ways. By going to our website and checking out our latest podcasts, by buying some sweet merch, joining our Discord, or getting early and exclusive access to all content via our Patreon. Your support means the world to us, and you can find everything on our website, www.ten-o.gg. That's ten-o.gg. Thank you again, and now, back to the show.
Hey nerd, Lore Master Tim here, and I've come with a rather indecent proposal. We want you to join in the conversation. If you aren't already a member of our Discord, what are you even doing? You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TheBDNS. And if you're crazy, odds are we'll talk about it on the show, so get kooky, and above all, let's get nerdy.
It's me, Iron Nerd Min-Maxer, Hanzo Gonzo, inviting you into the Tenno Media Arena to see whose nerdiness will reign we're gonna get sued. Will triumph a lotly. Come check out all the battles on the Tenno Media Network Patreon, or you can just skip to the parts where Steve physically breaks something for no reason. See you there.
Welcome back to the Best Damn Nerd Show. Bimbo Jimbo here with Jeff Budd and Mark Trex. We are getting into the Halloween spirit. We are talking slasher films and a little bit of everything Halloween and horror at large. And, I want to play a game. And I want to play a game with you guys and with the listeners. And
this turns into a Saw situation. Mark and I can't get out of the podcast.
That's right. Yeah, you are in the bear trap of podcasts with me now. And Saw is another, at least the first entry. A great. It's the
only one I saw. Wink, wink. Oh, we like to have fun here.
Wow.
I love it.
Actually, no, I've seen a couple of them, but that doesn't work for the joke.
No, it doesn't. The first one certainly is a great movie. The Diminishing Returns.
I don't. I think it's a big old shit pile.
I love the first.
It's like I'll tell you one thing. I could empathize with those characters because that's how I felt watching the movie. Woo!
God damn it!
Insert the audience laughter,
Jeff,
please.
God damn you!
I want to do the BDNS in front of a live studio audience.
Oh God, I love the first Saw, and I even enjoyed the second one. But yeah,
I don't like torture porn stuff, which is kind of like what Mark was talking about. It's why I hate the Hostel movies. It's kind of why I hate who's the director who made the Hostel films?
Eli Roth.
Oh,
Eli Roth. I find
yeah.
Eli Roth to just sort of be like a hack anyway. And it's like, I hate
See,
Cabin Fever.
I want to see the Green Inferno, which I know is going to be a lot of that, and I don't think I can get the wife to sign off.
Yeah, see, it's like I don't care for any of that stuff. It's not my jam.
Well, that I too, I don't get into the torture porn stuff too, and I don't think the first Saw is that. Certainly after the second one, that's what they devolve into, and I hopped off. But the first one, I think, is just a great sort of, if you don't know the twist at the end, I think it's a wonderful horror film. But the reason why I say I want to play a game a la Jigsaw is this was an idea to do a sort of horror October madness bracket a la what they do in March with the NC2A, although, that didn't happen this year because of everything. So I have put down 16 names of sort of horror icons with a heavy bent towards the slasher side. So if somebody...
Slashy 16.
They
slasher serial sort of idea.
I love the slashy 16. That's
what
great.
I bring to the table.
You're a natural. That's a great idea, Jeff.
I'm done for the night. That's it, guys. Hope you liked it.
But yes, so I have 16 names. They're not all strictly slashers necessarily, but I definitely tried to lean into that. And when I say name, if we haven't talked about their franchise yet, we can go into it there. So I'm going to read the names, and then I will give you the seedings. We'll have our own sort of like selection Sunday moment here, or slashy selections or whatever. But the first one on here, Michael Myers is of course going to be a part of this. We discussed we discussed Halloween at length in the previous segment. Jason is, despite being a Michael Myers derivative, is someone that we didn't really talk a lot about, and his franchise Friday the 13th and all that has spawned. Jeff, what do you make of the Friday the 13th franchise and sort of Jason's importance to slashers?
Oh, dude, no, major importance. Like, we can talk about how he is, I guess, the most successful imitation of Michael Myers, but it's gotten to the point where it's grown into its own thing. I think Jason Voorhees is a very big deal. I appreciated the idea of a Freddy versus Jason film, even though I didn't think it was a good movie. I like the Friday the 13th franchise. They're not all gems, but they're all worth like watching. Yeah. And I'll say this. I think of all the ones we're talking about, best remake with Jared Padalecki.
Really good.
It's a damn good movie. And if it wasn't a remake, you could have just thrown it right in there and say it's one of the sequels.
Jason can book it. Yeah. He was fast.
Which, I don't know if you guys have ever played any of the Friday the 13th video games. Yes. I had the one for the NES like a long time ago.
Terrifying.
It is terrifying, even though he's only a few inches tall. My mom used to laugh at us because my brother and I were terrified when he would pop up on screen.
It's too fast,
you're going
man.
through all the cabins looking for him, and then just out of nowhere, there he is.
We are going to talk about this in a future episode, spoiler, but playing last Friday with you, Jeff.
That was my visual to use tonight, which we're not doing videos. So
we're not doing visual things, but last Friday is a very heavily Friday the 13th inspired game.
Ooh, don't tell their lawyers. No. It's vague enough. It's vague enough.
No, it is most certainly not.
No, it's just a random slasher at this camp.
At this camp where he's killing campers. But they do a great job of sort of simulating that terrifying speed and the terrifying that like the slasher can be anywhere at any given time. They do such a great job with it. I'm looking forward to discussing that game with you. All right, also on the list is Freddy. We talked a little bit about the Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, but anything else that you guys want to add? Were you big fans of Nightmare growing up, Marco?
I haven't seen them all, I'll tell you that. I seen the remake and it wasn't great.
No.
But when I was young, and I'm talking maybe second, third grade, somewhere in there, I saw my first Freddy movie, and it was Final Nightmare. And it's where Freddy is dropping pins in this hall after chopping off this kid's ears, and the louds are so loud it makes the dude's head explode. Yeah. And it scared the shit out of me. like that is
Listen
the
to
one
this,
Freddy
bitch.
scene I know.
Oh, I mean the Freddy parody in Rick and Morty always made me laugh too. Just
Scary Terry.
Yeah, Scary Terry. That's right. Which actually,
run, but you can't hide, bitch.
Which then became a nickname in the NBA as well. Somebody goes by Scary Terry, which
I like that, and I like
hilarious.
the Landskeeper Willie version.
Oh,
Yeah,
excellent
totally.
episode of The Simpsons. Yes.
Yes. Absolutely.
I love that one.
Jeff, what do you think about the Nightmare franchise?
Just real fast, one of my favorite parts from that episode was they ignored that he was burning to death, and it was Milhouse's dad just talking about how he wanted a list of what was going to be on the menu for the cafeteria because he didn't like the idea of Milhouse having 2 spaghetti meals in one. And that line has always stood out to me as Willie's burning to death in the hallway. I'm a big Freddy Krueger fan. He's actually my introduction to the slasher films. Like my earliest memories of it is like, I guess my parents like watching Fox when it was like a brand new network, because they played a ton of New Line Cinema commercials. And so like they would be playing Nightmare on Elm Street commercials constantly. And then also they didn't have anything to like fill it up. There were only 3 shows. And so I think they used to play repeats of like the old Freddy Krueger movies on there. And I was scared shitless. I thought the commercials were terrifying. Freddy is very scary. A child should be afraid of him. He is a child molester or a child killer. They didn't even admit the fact that he was technically molesting kids until like a later film, because it's just so grotesque. I think those are great movies. I think the concept is great. We've already basically talked about what a genius Wes Craven is with the Scream franchise, but it's Nightmare on Elm Street that I'm the biggest fan of with his. I think they are very good movies. The first one is still a very scary movie. I remember this would be a few years back now. I think it used to be on Netflix. Look it up if it still is. There's this great documentary that goes throughout the entire series. They get interviews with everybody, and they have not Johnny Depp, unfortunately, but they do have like
so
these
not
great. Johnny's too good for it. Johnny thought he was too good for it when he was making the movie, and it's like you're not even famous.
I hope Freddy fucking kills Johnny Depp for not being in that.
Well, he did. he cut him up.
Yeah.
But they do a really good job of like breaking down each film and going like behind the scenes, and you forget like how many directors have been on it, and like how many different just actors have gone through it, because they're constantly killing off like the entire cast, with the exception of like the original girl. But like, and hell, I think even something might happen to her at some point. I know Jason kills his lone survivor, but I highly recommend the movies if you haven't seen them. When he was big, he was everywhere.
No doubt.
I mean, Freddy Krueger mania was a huge deal.
Well,
I mean, which is why I think he had the cameo in that Friday the 13th movie, because it's like Freddy Krueger's just that awesome.
That iconic. And is somebody that my whole life I've been a night owl and somebody that struggled to sleep at night or would pull all-nighters and stuff like that. There's a lot for me to personally relate to in those nightmare movies as they're trying to stay awake and everything like that. So
and those are loosely based on true stories that Wes Craven was looking up, and like these weird articles of like, it was like these Japanese kids that were trying not to fall asleep and then basically had like died of heart attacks or something bizarre like that. And then they went into their rooms and found like coffee, caffeine pills, all this bizarre. It was weird.
Well, so, that is bizarre, but
they eventually fell asleep and they were molested to death in their dreams.
Try this, bitch. All right.
But just the idea that this community got together and basically, did mob justice, which is what happened. Freddy Krueger was a child killer who got away with it on a legal technicality. The community was not going to allow that. They burn him to death. And then he comes back to attack the surviving children in the only area where like the parents can't protect them in their dreams. And it is scary because you have to sleep. You can outrun another killer. I can never go to Crystal Lake, but it's like, I have to go to bed.
You can run on for a long time. But it also like the 1, 2, the Freddy's rhyme.
Coming for you. That was great. That didn't even get introduced until like 5. Like, but that was the cool thing is as many movies as they were, they continued to add to the lore. Like, he's the bastard son of 1,000 maniacs, that nun who gets raped in that prison.
Yeah.
Like, it just that the sound of that is so grotesque and bizarre. And it's like, of course, Freddy Krueger is the bastard son of 1,000 maniacs.
Yeah. Ugh. All right. Another entry, Ghostface. We talked about Scream, Chucky as well. We talked about Child's Play. Leatherface does in fact make the list. I am not a huge Texas Chainsaw Massacre guy either, but I understand that his sort of iconic nature of him, and that some people are
absolutely
fans of those movies. Mark, are you a Texas Chainsaw Massacre guy?
So again, when I was in maybe younger, first or second grade, seeing the original Texas Chainsaw and the dude in the wheelchair getting gored in by the chainsaw and his arms flailing in the air sticks out. It may or may not have scarred me.
I think it did.
And from that, I haven't really watched the other ones. I don't think I've ever seen the Jessica Biel remake and The Beginning and all that. I have lots of respect for Leatherface, especially with all the other incarnations and based on true stories, Ed Gein related, inspired things. I think that's like the standout kind of item. So mad respect, but not typically my thing. I'm kind of pussyfooting around it, not gonna lie. I'm like, yeah, Texas Chainsaw, it looks horrifying.
I'm not into Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Jeff, I know you said that it's not really your deal either, really, but we understand that Leatherface has a place on this list, so there he is.
Oh, absolutely. No, he is iconic.
A franchise we have not mentioned at all. Candyman is on this list, and he's getting a remake as well. Mark, what do you think of the Candyman movies?
Candymans are that fun sort of supernatural, though, again, and then right, the repeat in the mirror and call him out. And that spawned a huge ghost story kind of, or maybe it was in response to that ghost story culture of like the Bloody Mary and so forth. Which putting that into film with this as Candyman is super cool. I think it definitely has a place as a quintessential item in any horror-thon.
Jeff, were you a Candyman guy?
Dude, no. Because like when it came out like that weird time where it's like I think I was still too young to kind of see that stuff, and then I think I've only seen it like once, and it was only like a few years ago. I'm not gonna say Candyman in front of the mirror or Bloody Mary for that matter, just in case. What if it did come true? I don't need to invite that shit into my life.
Yeah.
Why roll the dice? I'm doing just fine not saying it in front of the mirror. So I mean, I appreciate him being on the list though, for sure. It was one of those things that I knew very little bit about it. I knew about like bees and everything like that. And I was like, it just, as a kid, I was like, that's one of those movies. I don't need to see it.
Okay. All right. Well,
it's being remade,
and then when I did see it, it was like, oh, it was fine. It wasn't really that big of a deal.
Yeah, it is being remade. We'll talk about remakes in a little bit. Norman Bates is on this list. Psycho is in a lot of ways, while not a slasher in sort of the modern sense of the word and talking about the genre, but it is certainly what sense. It's certainly in the literal sense, and what inspired a lot of them, so what grew out of them. Sam Loomis is a character in the original Psycho, which is why the Dr. Loomis character has its name, Dr. Sam Loomis. So for that alone, and I mean, just Norman Bates, Psycho, the music, the moment in the shower, it's iconic. I think certainly has a place on this list, right?
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, he's like the Beowulf of slashers.
Vince Vaughn's finest portrayal.
Hopefully better than that remake of Beowulf. So, all right, just trash, that Grendel movie with Angelina Jolie or whatever.
Well, I guess that's like the Vince Vaughn Psycho movie. Wasn't that a TV movie?
No,
Mark, you were on. There was a TV didn't they do a TV show about Bates Motel?
Bates Motel, and that was actually really good. I don't think I finished the series. I maybe got 2 or 3 seasons in, but Vera Farmiga as the mom, and what's the guy that plays the Norman? He was
Vince Vaughn, dude.
Wasn't Vince Vaughn? I was saying that's like the good doctor and all that. Yeah, it was good. That was a good creep show. So if again, October's horror movies and things like that here at the household. But if there's nights where we don't have a lot of time, we're usually finding some kind of chilling show to cram in for an hour watch. That would definitely be a good pick for anyone with just a little time on their hands. Taking it,
American Horror Story.
All
Also
right,
great.
so
Yeah.
Haunting of Hill House, also great.
Someday, it's also great.
Next time, baby. Scream Queens was really good.
All right, this one you guys might not agree with, but I'm putting her on the list because I
saw
wanted to see something it happen later on. Mrs. Voorhees is on the list here. Jeff, you're not on board.
I mean, I get it. I don't know. It's a huge franchise. I mean, it's a huge genre, and we've got two characters from the same franchise. It bothers me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree. I think you're limiting it down to 16 names, and you double dipped with like the Crystal
A movie
Lake
that
Killer.
a movie series that you've been shitting on and saying that he's just a cheap ripoff of Mike Myers.
Well, he is. Two things can be equally true. He's a very good. Hey, listen, Demolition was a very successful tag team in the WWF, but they were ripoffs of the Superior Road Warriors. They were great ripoffs, though. But they always have that little bit
the
of
best
an asterisk
thing
by 'em.
Mrs. Voorhees did was warrant the death of Drew Barrymore in Scream. Just saying.
Okay. Well, so for
I
that
thought
alone,
she was fine. Like, listen, it would be great to go back in time and experience that twist again. Because when I saw the movie, obviously I knew who Jason was, but I had no idea that his mom was the killer in the original when I was a kid and watched it. And it's like, it was shocking at first, and then it was, oh, it's just some old lady killing it. Like,
yeah. That's my old
I'm
lady.
thinking of all the first person's, like perspective, like kills and everything like that. It's like, how come none of those guys just knocked this old bitch out? Like, how did this happen?
Got the drop on him.
Yeah, she got the drop on them, and then it made sense, like going back and seeing them like talking to the camera, like right before they got killed, because they're not talking to a hulking
maniac
wearing maniac. Yeah, like sort of zombie.
Yeah. What is he in Last Friday? All right. Also, okay, so this is a franchise we have not talked about yet. Ben Willis. Who is Ben Willis? Hook hand guy from I Know What You Did Last Summer. So he belongs on here, but the fact that I got crickets from saying his name is going to tell you where he might be seated later on. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I did not know his name. And I really feel like when this movie came out, Scream was out, and there was almost two camps of people, Scream fans and I Know What You Did Last Summer fans. I'm firmly in the Scream camp.
Scream is the
I want to say
franchise.
I've seen them, and you'd think, being the huge Ryan Philippe guy I am, I would be all about I Know What You Did Last Summer, but it just never stuck with me. I was hard in on Scream and Nevi Cams. So
I mean, Jennifer Love Hewitt is hotter than Nev Campbell, but but the superior franchise certainly is Scream. But I Know What You Did Last Summer certainly has a place because they were immensely popular as well, swimming in Scream's wake there. Jeff, what do you got for I Know What You Did Last Summer?
Jack Black.
Yeah, won a radio contest. Those dumbasses couldn't even name the capital correctly.
Yeah, I definitely do think that they're like the lesser version of Scream, but I mean, it belongs there. And as far as not knowing the killer's name, every time I read Ghostface, I kind of have to remind myself that that's the killer from Scream. I don't feel that the 90s slashers have the same personality as the 80s slashers. And the movie is almost like it's built around them, but they're not exactly the star the same way. So I think it's totally fine. Like, not necessarily, you know them more visually than you know them by their name.
Yeah, while not as good as Scream, I do enjoy putting on I Know What You Did Last Summer, or
Really?
I Still Know.
I think I want to give it a watch
fun movies.
again. I think I need to give it a rewatch.
I'll watch it again, but it's not the kind of thing that I would ever consciously like go after.
They are a perfect sort of, if you're having people over and it's something that you can have on that's non-offensive in the background. It's a quintessential sort of 90s horror film.
Okay.
So it's not like I'm saying it's one of my favorites, but it has a place in the rotation and a seat at the table. All right, The Leprechaun is on this bracketology.
Hell
We've not talked about
yeah.
that.
I'm the Leprechaun man.
Lep in the Hood. Come to do no good. Mark, are you a Leprechaun fan?
Love Leprechaun. Leprechaun 4 in Space, I think it was, with Heidi the Tool Girl.
Yeah. We watched that together, did we
is she
not?
the alien princess that he
did.
kidnaps or whatever? Yeah.
Which
one is In the Hood?
Leprechaun in the Hood.
Number 3, and then there was Leprechaun Back to the Hood that came out as well.
Lep in the Hood come to do no good.
I've never seen the second Hood one, but I did see the first Hood one. That's a good movie.
Hood might have been 5. I'm trying to think. Was there actually?
No,
I
feel like Hood came before Space.
Yeah. Leprechaun 4 in Space was great. I just like. It never really took itself that seriously. I mean, the first one with Jennifer Aniston and stuff like that was really good, but still pretty delightful. I mean, Warwick Davis just cutting people up with his belt buckle or shoe buckle, whichever it was delightful. And then it just really jumped the shark, but it fit. It absolutely fit, and it was delightful. It's kind of like a lot of the Chucky movies in that way. Yeah. Yeah, really, and he was so disgusting looking.
He really was.
Davis.
He definitely is one of those, so recognizable. I can picture the VHS covers, right now of going to like Blockbuster or Hollywood Video and be like, that fucking Leprechaun. All right, also on the list is Jigsaw. We talked a little bit about Saw. Certainly in terms of more modern-ish times, had a big impact on a lot of horror moviegoers. The first one was a really big deal, so that is why he clocks in on this bracketology that we're doing here. Pumpkinhead, which was a Mark contribution. Make sure Pumpkinhead got on the list. What do you guys think of Pumpkinhead, Jeff?
No, I like Pumpkinhead. I think I've seen... Are there only 2 of them?
2? There might have been more, but like the other editions are like later on direct release sort of things.
I like them for what they are. They're definitely that. I don't even know if it's B tier, maybe it's C tier or whatever, as far as these types of slasher horror movies go. I mean, it's still cool.
I love the concept.
I think visually it looks cool.
Yeah. I think visually it's great. It's that level of horror monster surrealness of like clay animation mixed with puppetry and heavy smoke and things like that.
We love our practical effects here at the BDNS.
And I love the story that it's like you summon the Pumpkinhead to do your bidding, and the price is now you become the Pumpkinhead. And so it's just a never-ending cycle. It's one of those stories where it's like at the end of the day, like good did not triumph. It's just going to keep going.
It's just nonstop. All right, a personal favorite and a horror-thon mainstay. We mentioned it in passing. I only axed you for a smoke. Beware of his
see my house from here.
In the bathtub, Jack Frost, the killer snowman. He's icing and slicing. Jack Frost is on the list. The greatest star of Apex Entertainment. Marco, what do you think about Jack Frost?
You know I love Jack Frost.
I know. You even like Jack Frost 2 way more than the rest of us, which was an atrocious movie.
When he's an ice cube and being rubbed on the model to get her a little perked up, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this is great!" And then she bites the ice cube to like cool herself down. You fucking bitch!
You thought the little baby Jack Frosts were cute too. I remember that vividly.
They're adorable. Yeah, they're adorable. The only travesty was having to use banana to kill him because the blood of the sheriff was incorporated into him. Was kinda, like then they have like super soakers full of like
it was so
serum.
bad. And that guy that they killed off in the first one inexplicably is still alive, looking like Nick Fury, and also vacationing where they were at. Jeff, I forget? Have you seen Jack Frost?
I've seen both of them.
Okay,
yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I like the first one. I think it's really cool. I like his powers. The sheriff's kid was like really lame, though. I think I remember. Shannon Elizabeth was great.
Yeah.
The second one. Whew, boy, that is just such a shit and rough movie. And it's like, and they got like the actors back and everything. It's like, this is just atrocious.
It's like they leaned in too hard with a smaller budget. It's like something.
Yeah, it was really rough. But the first one, I thought the entire thing was like a pretty cool movie.
So good.
It's only goofy because he's like a snowman.
Yeah. But I think the first one is an unapologetic
face into the
cult
tree.
Classic. Yeah.
It's definitely a cult classic.
The first one is so much fun. If you have not seen Jack Frost, not the Michael Keaton feel-good movie, but the horror film Jack Frost, do yourself a favor and watch it. All right.
Snowballs.
Snowballs. Pinhead also on the list from the Hellraiser franchise. Jeff, speak to Pinhead's sort of importance.
Dude, there's nothing creepier than the Cenobites. I love the first 2 Hellraiser films. If we're talking about the other ones, this could hurt Pinhead's standing. And it's like those are rough movies. I think the coolest thing he did was he killed Superman, Henry Cavill, before he was famous. But yeah, it's if you're into Warhammer 40,000, these people are definitely like Slaneshi demons. It's all extreme pleasure and all extreme pain. And I also read the book, which I highly recommend. It's exactly like the original movie. So you do the 2 of them together. And then the second one is like the perfect sequel because it links up a lot with what was going on in the first movie. You don't need to watch it. You could just watch the standalone film, but it is really good because my favorite character is Uncle Frank, who is unrepentant to the last. like he compared himself to Jesus Christ after they captured him. He tried to rape his niece in hell in the second one. Like,
what a son of a bitch.
He is a son of a bitch, and he's exactly where he belongs. But it's epic. They're very powerful, very scary, but they can be bargained with. You know,
another one that just visually, you know what you're looking at when you see Pinhead.
Pinhead's another one where I know like later on and stuff, sometimes you would have like a line here or there, but he really is more deadpan. But it is another one of those just iconic monsters. Like I remember, like, you know, in back comic books or like certain magazines and everything, you'd see Freddy, you'd see Jason, you'd see Pinhead, you know, like you'd see Chucky, Leprechaun, like all of them, like they'd all be standing there, and it's like it's one of those guys. And it's like it took me forever to see those movies too, and I don't really find them scary. They're dark and twisted. I'll tell you one thing though, if I had like the ticket from Last Action Hero, I would take my chances in some of those other movies that we've been talking about before I'd go to the goddamn Hellraiser film. And that was one of the things that creeped me out in Last Action Hero was he had circled Hellraiser and Nightmare on Elm Street as far as people he was going to recruit. I was like, you can't go in there. Tywin Lannister, you're nuts.
Mark, were you a Hellraiser guy?
Never was much. I watched the first Hellraiser just in the last matter of 5 years, probably on one of the horror-thons. And I was surprised that like Pinhead wasn't really like bigger. He kind of just like shows up at the end, right? In the first one?
Yeah, he's not in the
movie. It's more so like
much.
A big bad final boss sort of idea.
And he's not really even the thing that you're going up against. That's the other thing too. Like the Cenobites are almost like a force of nature. I would say that, and that's what's also great about the original couple of movies. And then it definitely shifts as it goes on. He's not necessarily evil. He's operating on a whole other plane of existence than what we're dealing with. That's why they say angels to some, you know, demons to others. Like, you know, in certain cultures or certain worlds or universes, it's like, yeah, they could be worshipped or whatever too. I mean, it's very different. But then like they gave him a backstory, and he definitely becomes more malicious and evil in other ones. And even though I don't like the later movies, I do appreciate that. I think it's like 3 and 4, or maybe even 3, 4, and 5 actually are like linked. And it's a story of like this particular family that like, it's like generational or whatever. Like they do confront him like in different time periods, which is kind of cool. And it has to do like with the origins of the lament configuration, which is the like Rubik's Cube thing that if you solve the puzzle, you open the box, we came, you know, so
so to speak.
You will. Like they're going to give you pleasures that you can never even dream of, but there's the trade-off, you know, it's like they're going to flay your penis. So.
All right. And finally, rounding out the list before we get into the seating, is Pennywise. Whether you like the new It films or the original miniseries, which I know Jeff and I are big fans of. And I kind of want to touch on that first. It, growing up, was scary to see on the shelf at the rental stores.
Dude, yes.
It was like, because it's massive too. It's 2 videos. Are you kidding me? Like, how much terror must be packed in this? I didn't see it for a long time, but I remember always sort of looking at it warily at the video store. So for that alone, I mean, it's already terrifying children when they haven't even seen a second of it. So, I mean, Pennywise to me is certainly, for that original miniseries, definitely belongs here. I think Tim Curry's portrayal of Pennywise is the definitive Pennywise. I don't think he'll ever be topped. Certainly not
comical
by this
now.
No, I don't think so.
Only to a certain degree. And I almost feel like it's one of those things where it definitely is an alien imitating like a clown. And so it starts to become like a bit extreme. And it's like that almost is like offensive to the senses, you know? And I mean, he's scary as a clown, not as scary as when he was the Wolfman. But it's so funny. The remake, I wasn't against it. I thought, it's fine that they were doing it. It got way too much undeserved praise when part 1 came out. And then part 2, I'm kind of sad that everybody shit on it, but at the same time, I'm glad it brought everybody down to earth that, hey, you were crapping on the miniseries way too much.
Which I do not understand. The miniseries, I think, is great. And you
were lauding the movie way too much as well. I still do feel that the miniseries is superior. I think what helps is, you know what? You don't need it to be high budget, because the more you see of the monster, the less scary it is. And it's so much more powerful to just have the characters talking about it and then little hints of what's going on. I feel that's always going to work out better. And, people shit on what the giant spider looked like on that TV miniseries at the end. But, I mean, are you happy with what the final confrontation was with Pennywise in the remake film? I think everybody hated that part, because it does end up looking cartoony, and CGI, as much better as it's gotten, is going to age like shit. It always does. And so, our children are going to scoff at that.
Mark, what say you?
So first time I saw it, I was crashing my brother's birthday party. He's a couple years older than I. He had all of his friends over. So go to Blockbuster, rent it out, got that. I was trying to hang out with the big kids. Oh, we're going to watch It. Cool. First VHS in. I think they get to the first kill scene where the kid gets dragged into the sewer.
Yeah.
And I was gone. That was it. I didn't finish it.
Wait, you made it to Georgie getting killed?
When Georgie got sucked in. I didn't finish. And
that's not even the scariest thing with Georgie.
Dude, yeah. And I was older than my previous stories tonight. I was maybe like 5th, 6th grade. Something like that.
That's like when I first saw it too.
Left, did not finish it. Finally came back to it years later during one of the horror-thons, and
face your fears.
It's fun. Yeah, finally did. I was just like,
slime.
Let's try it, and it was good. It was silly though.
So
it
many
was
great
silly,
moments.
but delightful. I mean, and totally befitting of the horror-thon.
It's so good.
Yeah, so I mean, certainly the original, and I know the new one has its support as well. So
there are good parts.
Yeah, let's get to the seeding though. So I've got an A side and a B side to this bracket. I'll go through it quickly here and sort of give you the number 1 seed on side A is Michael Myers. I think to the shock of no one. We barely even touched on Halloween 4, 5, and 6, which are also in
and H2O really,
and H2O as well. Especially for continuity's sake, after that, maybe it trundles down, but Michael Myers certainly, I think, is befitting of a number 1 seed. In the first round, he will be facing off against 8. And so I buried the lead. How we're going to do this is we will put it to a vote in our Discord, which is bestdamnnerdshow.com/Discord. We'll put the matchups in one of the channels to be determined here. And we'll put it on Twitter as well. So we'll tabulate some votes and determine who is moving on in this sort of Halloween madness, horror madness bracket. The 8 seed that Michael Myers draws in the first round is Pumpkinhead. So Pumpkinhead drawing a tough matchup there as an 8 seed though. But thanks for being in the tournament, and anything could happen. It could be a Cinderella horror story.
He could beat Mike Myers. He's tougher.
8th.
Yeah, and so in terms of your voting, who you think's tougher, who do you like more, what's more important?
However you want to do it.
Yeah, whatever you think, whoever you want to see move on here. Okay, the number 2 seed on the A side of the bracket is Jason. Of course, we talked about the importance of Friday the 13th, getting a 2 seed, no slouch, certainly formidable, facing off against 7 seed Mrs. Voorhees is a 7 seed here in this tournament.
You're not even
blood on blood. What are you doing?
I'm putting them up against each other.
He put her in there just to go against Jason.
We are getting the matchup to determine the alpha of the entire franchise in the first round.
Without Mrs. Voorhees, there's no Jason.
You can't make this stuff up, am I right? How do these things happen? But number 2 seed Jason taking on Mrs. Voorhees. I love sports. This is great. The number 3 seed on the A side of the bracket is Ghostface, and he draws 6 seed the Leprechaun. So that one actually, I know Scream has a lot of supporters, but I know the Leprechaun also does as well. So that's could be
probably the hardest one you've put out.
You think so? You think okay?
And,
so that's
questionable that Ghostface is in the third tier
seed
of them all.
Well,
after how much love we've given it on this episode,
there's some stiff competition, man. There's a lot of great characters. So you'll see on the other side of the bracket, the seeding. So we had Ghostface and the Leprechaun. The 4 seed on the A side of the bracket is Pennywise taking on 5th seed Candyman. Who do you think could we see an upset there? I mean, a 4-5 usually pretty closely bunched. I think Pennywise carries the day there, but you never know.
Yeah, I would feel Pennywise would win, but I don't know. That movie didn't do so hot, so I feel like
people do hate clowns.
If the Jordan Peele one came out, might be a different story.
Yeah, well, we will see.
And if this was a few years ago, I think Pennywise would steamroll like almost all of the competition.
I agree. I think Pennywise would probably be, well, I mean, it's a 4 seed, so it's still not bad. All right,
it's not bad, but yeah, we'd probably have to have him higher.
To the B side of the bracket we go, and the number 1 seed on the B side is Chucky.
Not Freddy?
Wow.
That was a tough call between Chucky and Freddy. That was, the committee, they agonized over who would be 1 and 2 on the other side of the bracket, but Chucky draws Jack Frost, who is the 8th seed on the B side of the bracket. As much as I love Jack Frost,
Jack.
I expect Chucky to waltz.
Going to be a lot of one-liners. I can tell you that much.
Yeah,
I do. I kind of want to petition my protest as far as this Chucky first seed. It's like, ooh, I don't know about that. And I mean, I love Chucky. I'm a huge Chucky fan. But
yeah,
I do not think he deserved it.
He makes a good pizza.
I think what I would have to think
he just
is
owns
probably
the place.
The committee probably just looked at the overall length of the franchise, the fact that you incorporate in the characters like Tiffany and stuff like that, and just the sort of I think he might have lobbied for it. The charismatic nature of Chucky.
That's it. That's the argument we had before the show. I would have rather have seen Tiffany in this list before Mrs. Voorhees because Tiffany has killed more people and has been in more movies.
And take it up with the board maybe next year.
I will.
But Freddy is the 2 seed on the B side.
The disgusting 2nd seed. This is offensive. Freddy could win this whole thing.
He could. He absolutely
and
could.
Rightly
He might.
so. I would not protest if he did.
I think
it's fair that he's on par with Jason tier for tier, though.
That's true.
It's tough. There's a stiff competition. He draws, I think, maybe an even easier matchup, even though it's a higher seed. But he gets Hook Hand guy Ben Willis from the I Know What You Did Last Summer movies. He doesn't have the sentimentality of Jack Frost. So that's what we got going on there. The 3 seed on the other side there is Jigsaw, drawing 6th seed, but I think one that could win. We could have a big upset here. Norman Bates is the 6th seed on the B side there. I think we could see Norman take that one down. Probably more, some love there for Psycho now.
I was going to say, if you put Freddy as a 2nd seed in a dream, you're going to get killed.
You put me in a 2nd seed in a dream. You better.
I'm sorry. I was so pleased with that joke that I didn't listen to the other matchup. It was Norman Bates and who?
Jigsaw.
Oh, yeah. No, I'd have to go with Jigsaw just because, I mean, other than like killing a bitch in a shower and dressing up as his mother, what does Norman really do?
Well, he spawned a lot of other movies. Pinhead. Pinhead is the 4 seed against number 5 Leatherface. That's I think a close one. I don't know who's going to take that one down.
Yeah, I feel it really comes down to like love of the franchise. I could see Leatherhead winning. If we're talking power level, I feel Pinhead and Pennywise are probably the 2 most powerful, and then Freddy's only in dreams. I forget how that worked out with him versus Jason, but yeah, it's probably Pennywise and Pinhead. But I mean, everybody's going to vote however they feel like. I mean,
yeah.
Oh, and Leprechaun, he's actually really powerful now that I think about it.
Oh, that's right. Ghostface and Leprechaun is the 3-6 on the other side there.
Oh, Jesus! Yeah. I was like, what happened?
I think I skipped over that one. Yeah.
No, you
like two of the tops.
Wait, didn't you?
No.
I don't remember. Well, Ghostface and Leprechaun are the 3-6 on the other side there.
No, I feel like you did mention it. Re-listen to this and see how stupid we all are.
Yeah, well, it could be.
We're all too busy writing Freddy dream jokes.
Not all of us, but you got me good with that one. But we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we are going to get into surviving a horror film and a little bit more on the other side on the Best Damn Nerd Show.
What up, nerds? Lore Master Tim here. We're excited to be delivering your weekly fix of nerd culture, but it's not enough. We need your life force to sustain us. So use those hot little hands to subscribe, rate, and review us on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or however you take your medicine. One of our favorite pastimes on the BDNS is reading fan mail on air. So sing us a song of hatred or love, and you may just hear your beautiful words being featured on an episode. That's why it's important, nay, essential to rate and review us. Until then, as always, nerds, say it loud, say it proud.
Hey guys, it's the loquacious anime and manga lover Jahns here. Now I have watched a lot of anime and I've read an abundance of manga, so you would think that I have a pretty interesting opinion on the culture. From classics like Golden Boy and Ghost in the Shell to masterpieces such as Psycho Pass and Gantz. Come and join me as I talk about the world of anime and manga, which has had a huge impact on my life. And who knows, whatever I talk about and recommend to you guys could become one of your favorite series.
Ammo with Jammers.
Hi, I'm Mark Truex, and you may know me as the CSO of Star Labs from the Best Damn Nerd Show, and I'd like to invite you to join me and the Imperial Commissar Jeff Budd on another podcast of ours, the Ultra Monthly Podcast, a retrospective and monthly show where we dive deep into the Ultraverse, the 1990s superhero comic book universe from Malibu Comics, and we believe it's prime time. The Ultraverse got the love it always deserved. Are you an Ultraforce fan? We are too. You missed the glory of the 90s comic book boom? So do we. And are you obsessed with these Ultras? Damn right we are. And you can join us monthly as we geek out over classic characters like Prime, Mantra, Rune, and the Nightman. So jump on now to the Ultra Monthly Podcast and subscribe today on Spotify, iTunes, and everywhere podcasts are found.
It's the microphone alchemist Bimbo Jimbo here, and when I'm not verbally super kicking Last Jedi fans on the Best Damn Nerd Show, or fantasy casting The Rock in another movie on the DLC, well, that's when I actually get to talk about wrestling. That's right, come join me in the Wrestling War Room, where I take my mic to the mat and launch my hot takes about the Wednesday Night War between AEW and NXT. The Wrestling War Room, which side are you on? Welcome back to the Best Damn Nerd Show. Bimbo Jimbo with Jeff Budd and Mark Truex. We are talking slasher films. We're talking horror. We just had a little bit of controversy at the the bracketology meeting and revealing of the seeds. Again, we will put the voting for those first round matchups in both our Discord, Best Damn Nerd Show /Discord.
My petition was denied.
BestDamnNerdShow.com/Discord. Yeah, your petition was. Unfortunately, it's too late now. But yeah, get on our Discord, get on our Twitter at the BDNS, so you can vote. You know, vote early and vote often, whatever it is. Vote or die. Vote or die is perfect for this campaign, given the subject, given the subject matter. But I want to get into now some of our favorite kills from specifically slasher movies. What stands out to you, Mark? I'm thinking of one when we watched Sleepaway Camp, whether it was one or two.
Number two is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, number two, I think, is apropos of what happens in it. Mark, what kill am I thinking of?
The latrine,
yes.
where a girl had to dive, got shoved into a latrine full of shit and leeches, and continues to be beat over the head and drowned into it.
It is completely absurd and ridiculous, but it is nevertheless one that I vividly remember, and I vividly remember watching with you and us delighting in it at the time. So I had to throw that one out there.
The sleepaway camps are fun, and the thing is I think by the time we watched Sleepaway Camp 2, neither of us had seen one.
Nope.
I'm not sure if we did.
I think
And
it was
still-
already checked out. So we
to
just
this
went with the
day,
sequel.
It was like, I don't know if I've ever actually watched one where it's the little boy. I'm just all about the transgendered camp counselors just slaying people.
Yeah, we didn't. That's kind of the beauty of the genre is that you can put one on and it's like, they're going to tell us what we need to know.
Yeah. Oh, that was such a delightful scene. That was gruesome. That's the
Yes,
level of
it
like
was.
torture porn I go for.
It was a shitty situation. What about you? Any other kills that stand out to you, Mark?
Another great one from Valentine. David Boreanaz. Classic. Yeah.
How about a date, Kate?
Be your mate, Kate. Awesome. Well, it's probably early 2000s slasher sort with Cupid as like the Valentine sort of killer, and just murking this chick with a iron where it's like for your clothes, and he's swinging it by the cord just over and over like a flail into the corpse. That just absolutely decimated. I thought that was pretty ingenious.
Valentine is a horror film that is also near and dear to my heart because watching it with you and just, it's just, again, totally inoffensive watch. You just put it on and it's just, to me, it belongs in the rotation. It's a fun one. I'll revisit that when we would discuss something momentarily because of an affliction that I have in common with Mr. David Boreanaz and his character in Valentine. Another kill that stood out to me from Halloween 2. The nurse in the hot tub. Yes, you can't see because we don't have video for this episode, but Mark immediately pantomiming what Michael Myers did to her. But that was one that stood out. He turns up the heat in the hot tub and then comes up behind the nurse and essentially just like scalds her to death in this hot tub. It was brutal, it was vicious, and he killed the hottest character in the film, which is always something that we lament as men.
What's appreciated though is they delivered on the goods, then boiled them off of her.
Yeah, so it's Mark's nothing. If nothing else, Mark's a completionist. But I liked also, going to Scream, how they killed Rose McGowan's character in the garage was in terms of kills from Scream. That's definitely one that stands out to me as one of my favorites, especially just the lead up to it, like how she's like not taking it seriously.
What's funny is that scene. One of my favorite parts of it is how it was mimed in Scary Movie with the real thick girl trying to climb out, and then the garage door collapses on her.
Yeah. God, we haven't even talked about Scary Movie, but yeah, that's definitely one. You talked about Drew Barrymore as well. Any other favorite kills?
Let's see. Oh, Identity. So Identity, John Cusack movie, Amanda Peet, where it's all these people stuck in this hotel, and it turns out they're within like this mind of a serial killer, and it's the personalities battling each other. And there's this one kill.
Whores don't get a second chance.
Whores don't get a second chance, where this whore gets beat to death with a shovel.
That was her profession, her former profession.
By like a 12-year-old.
It's a job title.
Yeah. And apparently they don't get a second chance.
Spitting image of James.
That is such bullshit.
James was a spitting image of that child. James and I went and saw that movie in theaters, and when we left the theater, there was a group of girls that pointed at him and said, "It's Timmy!" and ran away screaming.
This is foreshadowing what my role in the next segment will be.
Oh, definitely.
You son of a bitch. Killing you first, Mark. All right, let's talk about surviving horror films. We're going to go over Randy's rules of survival from Scream, which by the way, one of my favorite moments from Scream is when Randy's talking about the rules. And again, I mentioned it's a character that I identify with, not just in the fact that he doesn't get the girl, but also in the fact that Randy is invested in the lore at all times. So I always appreciated that about him. But there are rules. Yeah, those are his things. There are rules, and in the first one, it's you may not survive the movie if you have sex. You may not survive the movie if you drink or do drugs. If you say "I'll be right back" or who's there. In the sequel, it's the body count's always bigger. The death scenes are always much more elaborate with more blood and gore, and never, ever, under any circumstances, assume the killer is dead. And then in the trilogy, starring Detective Kincaid, Patrick Dempsey, who looks like me, you've got a killer who's going to be superhuman. Stabbing him won't work. Shooting him won't work. Basically, in the third one, you got to cryogenically freeze his head, decapitate him, or blow him up. Anyone, including the main character, can die. This means you, Sid. The past will come back to bite you in the ass. Whatever you think you know about the past, forget it. The past is not at rest.
Mom.
Any sins you think were committed in the past are about to break out and destroy you. She was not Sharon Stone. But what do you think about, especially from, I think the first Scream set of Randy rules are the best. They're the ones I think that the people think of the most. What do you make of Randy's rules? Did he miss any mark, or Jeff?
I mean, I feel that the rules he listed are like the legitimate rules. I know that there's sometimes like what people say is like don't be a minority in a slasher film or whatever. It's like that doesn't seem to be the case. Yeah. They certainly never die first, but a lot of times they do like survive the entire thing. And I'm not even just thinking not even just like slasher movies, but I'm thinking like Anaconda and everything. It's like Ice Cube lived. Almost everybody else got killed, but
I'm thinking LL Cool J in Deep Blue Sea. Cool character, the chef. I think even
maybe they survive against animals, and it's against slasher killers they don't. I'm not entirely sure.
But I mean, that is definitely a horror trope that like there's that idea out there that like the black guy quote dies first or whatever kind of. I don't know if that sprung up because of The Shining or what, but
I don't know if it was The Shining. I feel like it might have been something a little more ensemble. Even like The Thing, Keith David is one of the last people standing.
Very cool character.
Or, unless I don't know. Yeah, Childs. Oddly enough, he's like Tim. Unless he's supposed to be the Thing at that point, I'm not entirely sure.
I think that might actually have first come up in the movie Canadian Bacon with John Candy, because I think there's a African American character in that they're talking about, like not having black hockey players or something like that, and I think it devolves into like talking about horror films and survivability. But Randy's rules, what do you make of them, Mark?
Definitely stand by like the sex and nudity one. It always feels like, because like Top Girl's not the one getting naked. It's always her slutty friend.
Sometimes she's a virgin.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, not always.
So I definitely agree with that. I don't even know. I've never really paid attention to the "I'll be right back" sort of thing.
No, remember the Matt Lillard. Oh, okay.
Well, no. Okay. Like, I definitely know Matt Lillard's and "I'll be right back," and everyone's like,
he's cheating though. He's the killer.
Matt Lillard is so charismatic on film. He's one of my favorites. But as far as the actual rule of the "I'll be right back," I don't know if aside from Scream, I don't know if I've ever actually caught that.
I think it's kind of like a Friday the 13th thing, because if you have a group of people, usually somebody who's going to go take a look is one of the ones who gets killed, because the killer, the monster, is slowly, kind of getting closer to the center of what's going on. So like those scouts or anybody who's going to go see what made that noise in the garage or whatever, that they're the ones that die. And yeah, they probably say something, "I'll be right back," or "I'll go check it out," or whatever.
Yeah. Don't split the party. Leading cause of death in Dungeons and Dragons and in horror films. Don't split the party.
Very true.
All right, I want to talk about how we would survive being hunted by a murderous lunatic, or what our role would be. What would be your strategy, guys? Are you a stealth? Would you try and hide, or would you try and sort of like go at it? Like, I always think about the boyfriend of the police officer's daughter in, I believe, Halloween 4 it was, that tries to sort of like bow up to Michael Myers so that they could get away. He doesn't meet with a good end, but I appreciated his zeal. What would be your strategy or your role in a horror film? Would you try to try and survive a Michael Myers, or maybe a little bit more rotund 5'10" kind of lunatic that will be hunting you guys? Jeff, we'll start with you.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, short answer is I avoid these scenarios. I'm not moving into a dead pedophile's house. I'm not going to a deserted summer camp. I'm not staying at shady motels. I'm hopefully not attracting the attention of a sadistic lunatic who thinks I've lost my love for life. I'm not solving the lament configuration. I'm not buying creepy-looking dolls possessed by the souls of deceased stranglers. I'm not going into a creepy redneck family's home in the middle of nowhere. I'm not dicking around on Halloween if I live in a town that has a bad history with that day. And and I'm not associating with genius level cannibals. I'm not.
See, I do all these things.
But I feel like
all those things.
Stealth does not work, though, because I feel whenever you do the stealth thing, the monster always ends up just like smashing into wherever you are. They're always aware of what's going on. All of these slashers and monsters that we're talking about, they do end up just kind of getting like beaten to death at the end. You kind of do have to confront them. If you're the first person duking it out with them, no, you're going to die. But if you're like the last person left, you got to fight them, and you're going to win somehow. It doesn't matter who you are or what your size level is compared to them. You're going to
you're not just going to wait them out and live into the sequel.
Yeah, there's no way that happens.
Way.
You can't do it. And then I actually did like write down like who each of us is. So like with James, I said he's like the guy who's obsessed with the local legend. So he either would die early, or he simps for the last girl, or he's secretly the killer. And then also James could potentially be the virgin that lives in the end. So there's a few things that he could be.
Versatile, if nothing else.
He's definitely the killer. Well, he's the one like picking up an old mantle that's already died and everyone's forgotten about.
Yeah. Man, that is so true. And then like with Mark...
before you move on, what I wanted to say about Valentine is that the killer, David Boreanaz in Valentine, has this thing where he gets a bloody nose and it like drips out of the mask and you see it. I have that same affliction, and it happened today, actually, while I was in the shower getting ready for this episode. I was like, I'm ready to kill again.
Whenever you're mad or horny.
Exactly. when I'm in a killing or a fucking mood. But continue on, Jeff. What other roles do you have carved out?
And then with Mark, I said that he's like the life of the party guy downing beers, and he's either killed right around the time that like the bulk of the group realizes something is wrong. Like the first few kills would happen, and then it would cut to a scene of Mark still having fun, like in the cabin. It's like, the rest of the group doesn't even know yet. Mark's like, hey, where is everybody? What's going on? And then he would get killed.
That's why I'm the kill that matters.
You're the kill that kind of transitions everything. It's like we're not having fun anymore.
Yeah,
it's like the local legend could be true. Mark's dead. It's and true. Then like with me, it said I'm going to die, but I still get pussy. I think there's a good I think there's a good chance that I get killed checking on something. I'll be forced by a woman to go outside and see what's going on. And then I would be the guy who's like giving the all clear, and then I get gutted from behind. I'm the person who, if I got out of the car, I then go up to the window and like I scare Jennifer, my wife, and then it's like I start laughing at her, and then she sees something, and I'm ignoring her warning, and then I get like my head chopped off or something like that. John dies, and John dies early. He's gonna say something smart ass. He's gonna get gutted for it.
Yeah, he will. I am a fucking Star
He's also
Wars
probably
fan,
the guy who's gonna like. It all makes sense.
Tell me, Captain America is selfish one more fucking time.
Oh, that old school reference. Respect.
Respect.
And then also John strikes me as the kind of guy who's going to downplay the danger, which is another reason why he's going to get killed. I had Tim living longer than John. He strikes me as being part of like the final trio or quartet. And then it's his cowardice that'll be his doom. He's either going to refuse to take some risk or not go down somewhere scary. And then it's him staying behind, which is what's going to get him.
His final word would be like, please.
He's Paul Reiser from Aliens.
Come on, dude.
Tim would lock us out somewhere. And then it turns out the killer is in the room that he locked himself in. Davis is the guy I say goes down swinging, protecting somebody else. I think that's what Davis would do. He also gives off the vibe of the love interest in Friday the 13th Part 2 who actually does survive. So Davis may go down swinging, gets knocked out, but he's not dead. And then Davis also strikes me as one of the people who was in the second movie of Friday the 13th who ended up not even coming back to the camp that night. They're all still partying at the bar. And so Davis will be a part of the group who comes that morning when like there's the police cars and he's like, what happened? What?
He's just like,
and we're all dead. And then Seglia, I said he's either the first to die or he dies very early on. And the reasoning for that is I feel he's the guy who either has like the working phone or he's the one who knew the area where we're all staying at. Or like
he was like the orchestrator.
Or he's the one who drove us there. And then like he's the only one who knows where the keys are. And then it's like Seglia is like gone. And so then it becomes like this helpless like pitfall situation that we're stuck in.
Here's why Seglia dies. It's because of his voice that people will assume he is the killer very early on, and you have to. So I think he actually lives a little bit longer than you're saying, because like, well, it's clearly this guy with the gravelly voice that's the murderer.
He gets
so I
locked out of the room. Like, we don't trust you.
Yeah. Maybe he's the one that we all start to suspect. You brought us here. It's your tech. What are you filming this now? But no, I killed him. I love that. Mark, do you have anything you want to add, or in terms of what your role would be?
No, I think that all pretty much rings true. James,
Jeff, you did a great job.
The killer. James is definitely the killer.
Finally, we can all agree. I think Jeff, you nailed it pretty spot on. I'm either the lore obsessed one that gets killed like Randy, or secretly the killer with my bloody nose. So,
or you're simping for the girl who will survive at the end. That's
kind of like in the Randy thing too.
Yeah, but really, it was his. I totally get you as the Randy character. No, it was his ploy to kill everyone, so it was just her and him left at the end, thinking that would force her closer to him. And then when realizing it won't happen, he has to try to kill her too.
I feel like that has been one of the movies, right? Like, not Scream, but I don't know what slasher movie that is.
Fuck you!
Valentine. Valentine also does that. I think My Bloody Valentine does something similar to that, which those were good. Both the original and the 3D one with Jensen Ackles.
My Bloody Valentine 3D went on Valentine's Day, I believe.
Yeah, that was good.
All right, well, as we're wrapping up here, just one final thing, just a few notes. How do you guys feel about remaking some of these classic horror films and like the slasher genre? I was not a big fan, as we talked about, of the Rob Zombie Halloweens. I was very disappointed by the latest Halloween entry in general. I love that they brought back Jamie Lee Curtis and everything like that, but the fact that they ignore everything but the first one, I thought was a mistake and was just really underwhelmed overall. But what do you guys think about that? Because we mentioned Candyman's coming out, they've redone it. What do you think about that, Jeff?
Even though I don't like any of the Halloween remakes, I am in favor of remakes for slasher films or horror movies in general. Because like those articles that Tim linked us, the Thing and The Fly, the two that I love, are remakes, and it's like, and those are both definitely classics, and I feel that the payoff is worth the risk, because if like we get a shitty slasher movie, it's really not the end of the world. I almost feel like that's par for the course, and you can easily ignore it. Like those Rob Zombie movies, the best thing about them is that is its own self-contained universe, and so if you like them, great, and if you don't like them, pay no mind, and it's totally fine.
I think you hit on
and then like
H2O.
I would have hated the idea of H2O if I was older then and like had been a fan of the Halloween movies for a while, and then H2O turns out to be a really cool Halloween movie. I think it's one of my favorites, honestly.
Yeah, I love H2O, and I also just, in my own headcanon, 4 and 5 still happened anyway. So like,
I know what you mean. It's like I liked 4 and 5, so and
6,
and 6 with Paul Rudd, and it's like I'm not against those existing, but I do appreciate what it is that they were trying to do, and 1 and 2 are the most important, and so I think all of that fits just fine. I kind of wish that this new Halloween movie had maybe followed off of that, and so 1 and 2 exist. H20 exists 20 years later. This is what's going on. Could have gotten Josh Hartnett in it. Would have been about his daughter. That would have been cool. Well, he was in Penny Dreadful, and he was awesome in that. I do recommend the series. But yeah, now I'm not sure what it is that he's doing. And the other thing about H2O is it was obviously such a labor of love, and they did such a great job, and they brought back the nurse, and they tied up some loose ends. Like there's a lot of connection there, which is really cool. So I mean, yeah, it's a shame. If you make a movie like that, the delayed sequel or the remake or anything, like it can work. Yeah. So I'm all for it. And like I said, that Friday the 13th remake with Jared Padalecki fits right in with the rest of them. Yeah, it's just a good movie. That one was
really good.
It is a good movie. It's no different than the other Jason movies. It's certainly not the worst.
Well said. Mark, what about you? How do you feel about it?
It all depends on the execution. I don't feel like they shouldn't be touched, especially with a lot of horror properties having such a tradition of tons of movies. I mean, how many Jasons have there been now? 11, 12, something like that. Like I like that unkillable killer that's a little supernatural and just comes back to like, yep, still around, dude. It's kind of like the urban legends things and like the Candymans and the Bloody Marys. If you think about it, it's like, yeah, generation on generation, it's still killing. So I'm okay with that, and I'm also okay with them trying to reframe it in a light and do something a little different. And it's really case by case, just like Jeff said. Like the Friday the 13th was awesome. That one was really good. The Nightmare on Elm Street was terrible.
Not so much. Yeah.
Not so much good. Scream coming back for a sequel.
I'm very excited for that. I'm very excited.
It was great. Yeah, it was great. I think Candyman being due for a remake, because it's been, what, like 18 years since it came out, something like that, and Jordan Peele's behind it. Great. Let's make that shit spooky. I'm just do it good. Do it justice. Add your own flair to it, but don't be stupid.
Yeah, the thing that Jeff said, though, too, is great, is that if it sucks, it's still easy to ignore, you know?
There's certain things like the Evil Deads. The Evil Deads were classic and got remade, and it didn't capture the spirit of it. It just didn't hit. Cabin Fever got remade, and I believe the remake is now on Netflix too. So I might make that a Horrorthon entry to see how they finally followed up. As long as they still got that, the deep finger scene, I'm good.
I think there's also something.
Yeah.
There's something to me though also about like Scream in particular, the fact that there's another generation of kids that are gonna be going to the theater and getting freaked out by Ghostface that I appreciate. And say same with Halloween. It's like Michael Myers back in theaters, and people were legitimately very excited. Now, it wasn't greatly executed, but I'm for sort of like make a good effort, and I'll be right there with you. I was on board for the last Halloween movie. It just happened to be a shitty movie. But I'm hopeful that they turn it around and they do it justice in the future. And there's just it's just cool going to theater, getting scared, or having your own marathons at home. And it is a great tradition. It's a great fun time. I've enjoyed talking slasher films and Halloween and horror and all this stuff with you guys. So we're going to keep it spooky throughout the month of October, but that is going to do it for this ghoulish edition of the Best Damn Nerd Show. Have a great week, everyone. And remember, if you're a nerd, always say it loud and say it proud.
Don't forget to vote in the Discord.
You're listening to the 10-0 Media Network.